Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to web-based dashboards. And today on Module 3, what we're going to do is we're going to finally deploy our little test application into Okteto. Okay, this is going to require us to do some more downloading and more configuring, but we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, so first step one, is in Canvas. If you go to Canvas under Module 3, you will see that I posted this file called okteto-stack.yaml. Now again, YAML extension files, they're basically configuration files. It's similar to how JSON files are. You guys know we use JSON files to convey data, but JSON files are also used to as configuration files to basically tell applications or servers, hey, this is basically how I want you to work, so to say. YAML tends to is I guess in the Kubernetes world, it tends to become more popular and it's being used more and more. So along that theme, this is why you see these .yaml extensions. Now, I am by no means an expert in YAML standards, syntax, or Kubernetes for that matter. Right? This is like cloud engineering stuff beyond my scope. But a great thing about Okteto is Okteto does a lot of the work for you. So okteto-stack.yaml, this is Okteto's way of making a simpler configuration file that they then take and do a lot more work behind the scenes, right? So in this case, if you go into modules and you open up okteto-stack.yaml, you'll see this file right here, right? You'll see this file right here. Now, first things first, take that file and place it in your, for my case, my website folder, right? My website folder, or whatever you guys named your folder. Now remember, the website folder is a folder that has your main.py file, it has your Dockerfile, and it has the app folder. So please keep it at that same level. Okteto-stack.yaml should be at the same level as main.py, and you see that right here. You see that right here. Open it up. When you open it up, you see this simple stuff, lines of code right here. I pretty much have no idea what most of this stuff means. We will get more into it as we have to go and we have to get in more detail. But the less I have to mess with these configuration files, and the same thing goes with you guys, the better for all of us. The only change you have to make, all right, the only change you guys have to make to the okteto-stack.yaml file is that, see here where I have my username. This is my account name for GitHub, Prof. Gilani 79. That obviously change that to your username, and that username should be the same you guys have for GitHub, and it's the same thing for Okteto. Obviously, it's all the same. So whatever that username is, replace Prof. Gilani 79 with your username and save it. All right, now and save it. After we do that, we now have to go back into our Dockerfile. So open up your Dockerfile, and now we're going to add a line there to include okteto-stack into it. Now remember, Dockerfile is that file that tells Okteto when we connect to it, right? When we connect to it, which files from our virtual environment should be in our Okteto environment, right? That's what it's basically saying. And when we deploy it, it's same thing. Same thing when we deploy it. Everything in our projects folder, right, that we're going to deploy into GitHub will be passed on to Okteto in the deployment. But I think by default it happens by default, but we can experiment that with later. But just in case, just to keep things, make sure we have no issues. Open up your Docker file, and here you see in my line 7, I added the Okteto line, right? I added the line for Okteto. So now Okteto will be part of the project as well. Good. We took care of that little snippet right there. Now we're going to go on GitHub, and here I have created an account on GitHub. We don't want to create an account on GitHub. We have to just log into it. We all have a GitHub account, obviously. So go to your URL on GitHub and sign into your GitHub account, right? So you're signed in. You should be good to go. You're signed in, right? Now what I want you to do is I want you to go to this URL. And let me show you here, open this account. And again, the URL is right here. It's desktop.github.com. So you can use GitHub in one of two ways. You can use GitHub through command lines to your prompt, right? Or you can use desktop. It's totally up to you. I'm going to use desktop because I am a business guy. I'm a Wall Street guy, and we like GUIs. We like things to be as simple as possible, right? So it's just much easier this way. But again, the GitHub commands, I don't know if you guys have worked with GitHub, those are easy as well. So it's up to you. So go here to desktop, and obviously I'm on a Mac, so it asks me to download from Mac OS. For those of you guys with the new Mac OS, they have that with the new chips, right? Apple's own chips. They have that link here for you guys as well. And for Windows, this should be prominent for you guys. If it's not, it's right down here for Windows. All right, go ahead, click on it. And when you click on it, right, it's going to obviously give you some sort of executable file. Now for Macs, you'll get a zip file. What you're going to do is you're going to get a zip file. You'll see it in your downloads. Like here's my zip file right here. Execute that zip file. So basically, execute that zip file. So it's going to basically unzip the application. Now, what ends up happening is for Macs, it's going to unzip the application. It's going to put it right there with your downloads. You can click it there and it'll work. It'll work fine. But for us to consistently use it, take that GitHub desktop and slide and move it into your applications folder. And once it's into your applications folder, you can always open it from applications like you do any other application. For my PCs, again, I don't have a PC, so I need you guys to verify this. But you will get an executable file when you download it for Macs. Just execute the executable file, and everything should just be normal. It should go into your start menu and all, just like any other software normally. So once you guys have that downloaded for my Macs, just open up your GitHub. PCs, just go to your startup menu, open up your GitHub desktop, and this is what you see. Right? This is what you see. It will go ask you to sign up. Again, I had this wrong. But anyway, it'll ask you to go sign up again using your GitHub credentials. Go ahead and do it. And it'll ask you to then, at that point, right, authorize the desktop to have access to your computer. Yes, we want that. Because remember, this desktop is connected to GitHub, and now it's asking access to our computer. We want to go ahead and do that. Now, when you do that, another browser might open up and ask you to log in again, or it might not because you're already logged in. It depends on which is your default browser and which browser you use to log in, right? If you logged in with your default browser, you're good to go. If not, it's not a problem. It's going to open up another browser. You're going to log in, and boom, you're now connected to your GitHub. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to configure and add a repository, right? A lot of configuration stuff going on here. Now, configuring, just leave it be. Use your GitHub account, name and email address, whatever standard there. Don't get fancy. Just click finish and just go for it. Obviously, if you're a GitHub pro, if you're a software developer and you have so many different projects, you can configure things the way you want. We have one project and we're just rolling with it. All right. Now, after you do that, we're ready to get started. You'll see a screen like this over here. Let's get started, right? About so basically basically having a new repository, right? I'm sure. Let's see if I can do it here for you guys. If I were to say, I guess add or create new repository. Right now, this is where I'm on the desktop right here. For me, I'm already logged in and configured, so it's going to look slightly different for me. But if we wanted to add an existing repository, it would look a little different. But what you guys should see is something like this, right? Now you want to click on, what we're going to do is we already have our folder for our project. We did that in module 2, right? We got it to work on our machine. Then we got it to create a test environment, work on Octeto directly. So we have that folder. So we want to do the last choice. That basically says add an existing repository from your hard drive. That's what we're going to click on, and we're going to click on that, and we're going to basically move to our folder, right? We're going to move to our folder, and then you're going to say, click on, it's going to choose that folder, and now you can do click on publish repository, right? Click on publish repository. Bam. This will now pop up, right? This will now pop up. After you click on publish repository, let me show you if I can see it here. Click on new repository right here. Something like this will pop up, right? Something like this will pop up. I just click on new repository, right? So something like that will pop up, as you guys can see here. And give it a name. Give your repository a name. I gave my here it says example. Do not name your repository example. I named my repository website, right? I named it just website. Just kept it simple. You can name a web dashboard. You can name anything you guys want. Just whatever you name repository, name it something that's relevant to our project. And now, after you click on Publish Repository, if you come here to your GUI, you will see something like this, guys. We're up here. See, I named it website. You see here, current repository. Let's take a zoom in. Boom, look at that. You see where it says current repository? That is my repository's name, website. And actually, I have another one here called example, etc., etc. Also, interesting point. Here, down here, it says keep the code private. That by default is checked off. I like to keep my code private, for work. Obviously, any kind of web applications, in any portfolio companies we have, any websites we have, we obviously like the code. We like, even though it's obviously I shouldn't say it's not cutting edge. Obviously there's a lot of proprietary stuff there. We obviously like to keep it private. I obviously like to, I like to keep it private. Don't want a competitor taking my code, right? But again, you guys are college students. You guys are trying to market yourselves, and even in our undergrad computer science department, everybody has a GitHub account. My MIT students, you guys all are supposed to have GitHub accounts, and technically you should be public. Your code should be public, so that potential employers can see the work you've done, So I like to keep my stuff private. Professionally, if you guys are working on something, keep it private. But for something like this, keep it public so people can see your skill sets. All right. Now, we got what's going to happen is you're going to have a bunch of stuff that happens. You'll see, a whole bells and whistles. I'm skipping it because I did this beforehand. But what you'll see here, if you come down here into you'll see a couple things being created. These .special files. And one of them is git attributes, right? You'll see .git attributes. Another one, .sti_ignore. GitHub creates all this stuff automatically, right? And this shows basically, in the website folder, this shows basically, hey, we're connected. GitHub is connected to this folder. Also, you'll notice the icon up here next to website kind of changed for me. And the cool thing about GitHub is GitHub and Atom was actually made by the GitHub community. So it syncs with GitHub beautifully. So you'll notice here there's a little icon here next to website. That's basically showing that, hey, I have this website folder and it's locked. It's locked, meaning it's private. It's private. I have this private account right here. So if you go to my desktop, right here you see that. The lock, got a nice private repository. Now again, I think I glanced over this real quick, but the repositories that we create, repositories are basically where our projects go. Not just one project, multiple projects can go. We're just going to have one project in it, right? But that's essentially where they go, right? I like to have a different repository for each one of my applications, because it's just easier from a managing point of view, and you have that access. You have that benefit. So I like doing that. I like keeping it separate. Either way, we are now ready to deploy Octeto. If you go to your Octeto website, right up here, click on deploy, this thing will pop up. Now yours won't look, we have three options. Do it from Compose, from Charts, from Compose, again, Dockerfile stuff, right? We want to do it from Git, obviously GitHub, right? From the GitHub source. Yours doesn't look like this yet, because what's going to happen is you guys have to go in, and once you click on deploy, you have to configure it. Right, you will not see a repository. Octeto will ask you to configure it. All right, and when you do that, it's going to ask you to configure your GitHub. Your repository will be, the repository name will be right there because you're connected to it from your computer. Click on it. This bottom left screen will show up. Install from Octeto Cloud. It'll ask you, can you install from the cloud? Yes, we do want to. Again, click on your username. Same thing again, right? Accept it. You won't see all these options. I think you'll just have one option. So go ahead and click on that. And from here, it'll ask you all repositories. We just have one repository. Or at least for a purpose of our project, we just have one repository. So select the repository you want, right? And then obviously give full access to it. Just keep things simple. And from here, this should happen. right? Or this explosion should happen. And what you'll see here on your screen, if I cancel this, or on this side, this part, the logs, it will explode with stuff happening. You see the octeto dash, that file I asked you to do right here, okteto-stack.yaml. People like you and I, myself, we can't really appreciate what this file is doing, octeto, what they've made here, right? They've basically simplified the Docker. Like we talked about that Docker file, but that Docker file needs to be so much more detailed when you're deploying something to a server to give more instructions, right? Octeto went ahead and created this extra configuration file that does all the work for you. It does all the default stuff. I mean, if you want to do things more detailed and get more fancy, fine. But just to get your project up in a standard way, Octeto does all that work. So those few lines of code goes ahead and kicks all this stuff off right here, guys. Look at that, look at that. And if you have no errors, this will pop up. Let me close it up. Your actual container will pop up called website, and underneath it, it automatically knows Fast API is running. So the project from GitHub got loaded in. Once it got loaded in, it went ahead and automatically executed Fast API. We didn't have to do anything because of our configuration files. And it's up. And if you come here to our endpoints and you click on this, notice the URL. It's different from before. Now it's fast API dash my username .cloud.octeto.net. It'll the same thing will be for you guys. There's a fast API dash now before your username, right? It was a little bit different from before. Oops, I have two slides. It was a little different before, and so this pops up. This URL, guys, this URL, whether I close Octeto, now watch, I'm going to close Octeto, right? I'm going to go ahead now and close Octeto. I'm not even it. Refresh, 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 doesn't matter. We close our computer, it doesn't matter now. Before, in module 2, we were developing. So once we closed down our connection to Octeto, our website went down. Now we have a separate website up. Let me open up Octeto again. Do hard reset. Log in. I'm already logged in. So this part right here, see this, if you click on this, this is our deployed website. This Octeto dash website, you can see how it's unused over there? See how it's unused over there? This is the connection to my computer from our directory when we're developing. So what's cool about Octeto here is Octeto allows you to do programming directly from your virtual environment, directly in Octeto, using their resources. So we can develop in real time and do things on, see how our website is developed. Once we're good or we like what we see, we take that code, we deploy it in GitHub using this sucker, right? When you make a change, you'll see this when we make changes, this is going to come up. You're going to see changes come up. Like when we make changes to our code, you're going to see that, hey, this is going to point, when we sync it up, it's going to say, hey, it's going to point out, hey, these files just changed in that folder. Like this desktop, the GitHub desktop will tell us. And down here, it'll ask us, do you want to commit those changes? We will obviously commit it, and you guys will see that. And then it goes up and changes it. And then what we need to come up here, once it's up in GitHub, all we need to do is we need to click on this redeploy button, and then it'll go to GitHub and get the latest files. And then again, this URL will be updated. My website is now fully up. This web application, it's not much, but it's now fully up. Anybody can view this. In fact, you guys can now go on, log in, and check this out. When you guys are finished with module 3, right, you will now have a fully functioning deployed web application, and I will be able to see it. I will create an assignment link where you guys can literally copy and paste your URL in. And for all of you guys, I'm going to go and click on your links to make sure it's working up and running after module 3. All right, so this is now your first web application is up now 24/7. This is great. It's exciting. Congratulations. And now our next step is module 4, right? We got to get to business. And that requires us to now open up, and actually to now, if you want to talk about, we want to basically initialize and configure our database, right? Obviously, if we want to get to business, guys, we got now in Octeto, we got to initialize and configure a database. We want to start opening up. We want to activate our database that Octeto offers us, whatever they offer. I think they have a few options that we can choose, and we want to start working with that database. And we want to start, I guess, doing some sketch out our environment, start loading up simple data, start talking about that, and then start talking about the data we want to use, how we're going to load it, and then we can talk about loading, analyzing, and we can start running from there. Right? We're going to go from this point. We'll start going slowly mostly from the data, from the back end part, data, database, focus on the database, focus on the data, but we will be doing slowly more and more front end stuff, right? Just to test our data, to interact with the database also. So module 4 is basically now getting our database up and running. All right. But at this point now, you guys should have a full-fledged URL, and now we should have a development environment ready to go. We now have our production environment, and now we have the GitHub that connects it all together to Octeto. All right. Okay, guys. So this is the end of this video. I'll see you guys in class and in module 4. All right. Have a good day, guys. Or have a good programming night, guys. Bye-bye.